Daniel Kariuki, KTN News.
Shifting focus, the Law Society of Kenya is opposed to a push by President William Ruto to amend the constitution to, among other things, create the office of the leader of the opposition. The LSK terms the proposed amendments, including entrenching the CDF Act, as unconstitutional and ones which can only be done through a referendum. And as our senior political affairs reporter Chris Thayer enunciates, the Azimio leadership has already opposed the raft of amendments.
Less than a week since President William Ruto sent a memorandum to Parliament with a raft of proposed amendments to the Constitution, a storm is already brewing within the political and legal circles. According to the Law Society of Kenya, the proposed amendments can only be achieved through a referendum.
It is noted that the amendments as proposed by the President fall under the scope that require a referendum. And if pursued by way of the President's proposition, then the sovereignty of the people of Kenya would be undermined.
The LSK argues that by amending the constitution by reintroducing the position of leader of official opposition will definitely alter the structure of the legislature, which falls under the protected clauses.
What does it mean tomorrow when the President comes from the leader, when comes from the coalition that is composed of the minority? Who will be the leader of opposition? Will it be the President? So what we are saying is that that amendment in itself does not conform to the current constitutional structure that we have.
With the amendments having been proposed by the President, the society questions what will be the difference between the proposed amendments under BBI, where retired President Uhuru Kenyatta was ruled to have contravened the Constitution by initiating the amendment process, and now.
So therefore, they should not see the light of day in Parliament as there being a very clear precedent that has been set by the courts that those proposed amendments should not be entertained by Parliament.
A section of members from Azimio coalition have also dismissed the proposed amendments, claiming it was done in bad faith.
When Uhuru initiated the process of amending the constitution was the right time, because he was just in his final days in office. But Ruto is barely 6 months in office. In fact, he's 4 months in office, isn't it? Or less. He's starting to initiate a constitutional amendment. Maybe he's testing waters. Tomorrow he may come up with something else, that he wants to amend our constitution and remove the term limit of the president.
It is a position of the Law Society that there are greater issues that are facing the country. We are all aware that a huge population of our country is facing drought. We are all aware that the youth in this country are largely unemployed. There's been increased levels of insecurity in the country, and we want to urge the President that there are greater issues that concern the executive other than the proposed unconstitutional amendments.
Parliament is set to consider and deliberate on the proposed amendments by the President when they resume from the Christmas break in February next year. Yet again, the matter might just find itself at the doorstep of the Supreme Court judges if the executive uses its numerical strength in Parliament to pass the proposed amendments. Chris Thayer, KTN News, Nairobi.
Now, for